A few years back, my boyfriend Mark and I decided to attend this epic Halloween party at this eerie old mansion on the outskirts of town. I was dressed as a glamorous witch, and Mark was rocking his vampire attire. You know, the whole cape and fangs deal. The mansion itself was something straight out of a horror movie. Cobwebs covered everything, and the flickering candlelight created this eerie atmosphere that sent shivers down our spines. The party was in full swing, with everyone enjoying the spooky vibes. But here's where things started to get weird. We noticed this one person at the party, someone wearing a grotesque pig mask. I mean, it was seriously creepy, guys, with those beady eyes and that wicked grin that seemed to follow us wherever we went. At first, we brushed it off as part of the Halloween experience, you know, a creative costume choice. But that pig-masked stranger just couldn't get enough of us. They seemed fixated on us, and it gave us the serious creeps. As the night went on, that unease just kept growing. So we decided to make a quick exit, thinking some fresh air would do us good. We needed to shake off that unsettling feeling. We stepped outside, and there it was, a crisp Halloween night. But what happened next was like something out of a horror movie. As we walked toward our car, that pig-masked stranger followed us, emerging from the shadows. Panic set in, guys, as we rushed to unlock our car and get inside. The stranger approached our car, pressing that grotesque mask against the window, fogging it up. His heavy breathing and those eerie squeals coming from the mask, pure nightmare material. We locked the doors and sped away, leaving that sinister figure behind. We drove to a nearby 24-hour diner, hoping to find refuge and call the police. But the nightmare wasn't over yet. As we stepped out of our car, we saw the pig-masked stranger still watching us beneath a flickering street lamp. I mean, seriously, guys, it was like he was haunting us. Inside the diner, we tried to calm our nerves, but the sense of being hunted wouldn't go away. We called the police, and they told us officers were already investigating similar reports of the pig-masked intruder. As we waited in that eerie, empty diner, the lights started flickering, and a message appeared on our table written in ketchup. "I'll always find you." We looked up, and there he was, the pig-masked stranger standing outside the diner's window, watching us with those malevolent eyes. The police finally arrived, but when they searched the area, the stranger had vanished. It was as if he'd disappeared into thin air. They assured us they'd continue the investigation, but we couldn't shake the feeling that he was still out there, lurking in the shadows. This story takes place a few Halloweens ago when I was just a teenager, hanging out with my three best friends, Sarah, Emma, and Lily. We had been planning our Halloween costumes for weeks and were itching to hit the streets for some epic trick-or-treating. With our costumes on point, Sarah was a wicked witch, Emma a ghostly bride, Lily a fearsome werewolf, and yours truly a devilish demon. We set out into the Halloween night. Our pillowcases were empty, ready to be filled with sugary treasures. The neighborhood was alive with the spirit of Halloween. Jack-o'-lanterns lined the streets, their eerie glows casting flickering shadows. We giggled and chatted, excited about the night's adventures. But as we made our way down a quiet, dimly lit street, things took an unsettling turn. We noticed an old ramshackle house that stood out like a sore thumb among the well-kept homes. It was surrounded by an overgrown yard, and the porch sagged ominously. As we approached, we noticed an elderly man sitting on the porch steps. He was hunched over, his eyes hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat, and he wore an eerie grin that sent chills down our spines. He was holding a bowl filled with candy, and his bony fingers beckoned us closer. Now, our parents had always warned us about stranger danger, but we figured it was just Halloween spirit that made this old guy look so creepy. So we cautiously approached the porch, eager for candy but also wary. Sarah was the first to reach out for a treat, but the old man's wrinkled hand shot out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. His voice, trembling and hoarse, whispered, "Come inside, my dear, I have something special for you." Fear washed over us as we saw his fingers tighten around Sarah's wrist. Her eyes filled with terror as she struggled to break free. Emma, Lily, and I tried to pull her away, but the old man's grip was like a vice. In that heart-pounding moment, we realized this wasn't just a friendly neighbor handing out candy. His intentions were sinister, and we had to act fast. With all our strength, we yanked Sarah away from the old man's grasp, and we sprinted down the porch steps, our hearts pounding like a drum. We didn't look back until we were several houses away. When we finally glanced over our shoulders, the old man was standing on his porch, his hat casting a shadow over his sinister grin. He watched us with those piercing eyes, his bony fingers flexing, as if he had something dark in mind. We didn't stop running until we were back at Lily's house, safe and out of breath. We told her parents everything and they called the police. But by the time the officers arrived, the old man had disappeared into the night. We learned a valuable lesson that Halloween night. The line between fun and fear can be razor thin. Our adventure had taken a terrifying turn, reminding us that even on the spookiest night of the year, real dangers can lurk behind the masks. So my friends, stay safe out there this Halloween. And remember, it's not always the monsters in our costumes we need to be wary of. Sometimes it's the ones hiding beneath a friendly facade. I was psyched about throwing the Halloween party at my place. We'd planned it for weeks, and it was going to be the bash of the year. My friends and I were going to rock our costumes and dance the night away. But little did I know, things were about to get real creepy. The night was chilly, and the moon cast eerie shadows on the streets as my pals started showing up in their killer costumes. We had zombies, witches, and even a couple of DIY aliens. The music was bumping, the snacks were laid out, and the atmosphere was electric. As the night rolled on, I noticed a strange figure lurking in the corner of the room. They were wearing a scream mask, the kind that sends chills down your spine. I figured it was one of my friends pulling a prank, trying to keep up the spooky vibes. But there was something off about this person. They didn't talk, not even once. They just stood there, in that creepy mask, silently watching the party. Every time I tried to approach them, they'd slip away into the shadows, like they didn't want to be seen. I asked my friends if they knew who it was, but they all shrugged it off, thinking it was just part of the Halloween fun. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later in the evening, I decided to confront the masked intruder. I followed them down a dimly lit hallway and finally cornered them in the kitchen. I took a deep breath and yanked off their mask. My heart pounded as I stared into the eyes of a middle-aged man, a total stranger. He didn't say a word, just glared at me with a sinister grin. My blood ran cold. "Who the hell are you?" I shouted, my voice trembling. He still didn't say anything, but in his hand I saw a glint of metal, a knife. Panic surged through me and I sprinted back into the party, screaming for everyone to get out. My friends scrambled to the door, and I dialed 911 as fast as my shaking fingers would allow. The police arrived just in time and they arrested the creepy intruder before he could do any harm. Turns out he'd been casing my house, planning to rob it while we were all distracted by the party. As I watched them haul him away in handcuffs, I couldn't believe how close we'd come to a Halloween horror story of our own. That night, the masks weren't the scariest thing at the party, and I learned that sometimes you gotta trust your instincts, even on the spookiest night of the year.